The joint assembly will please come to order. This joint assembly is convened pursuant to the provisions of JRS 3, which the clerk will now read.
JRS 3, joint resolution to provide for joint assembly to hear the inaugural message of the governor. Resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives that the two houses meet in joint assembly on Thursday, January 5, 2023 at 2 o'clock in the afternoon to receive the inaugural message of the governor.
Please remain standing while Michael Pizzaferi, and I apologize on the names from the get-go. Please rise and remain standing. I apologize. While Michael Pizzaferi, representing Quebec's delegate to New England, is escorted into the chamber by Colonel Eric Gagnon, Chief of Staff. Please remain standing while former Governor Howard B. Dean is escorted into the chamber by Master Sergeant David Vallières, 158th Security Forces Squadron. Please remain standing while former Governor and Mrs. James H. Douglas are escorted into the chamber by Lieutenant Kevin Burke, Recon Officer, 572nd D Brigade Engineer Battalion. Please remain standing while former Governor Peter E. Shumlin and Katie Hunt are escorted into the chamber by Command Sergeant Major Melinda Crosby, 186th Brigade Support Battalion Command Sergeant Major. Please remain standing while the Honorable Justices of the Vermont Supreme Court are escorted into the chamber by the Sergeant at Arms. Please remain standing while Treasurer-elect Michael S. Pichuk and Will Holder and Gavin Boyles are escorted into the chamber by Colonel Michael Rump, Public Health Officer, 158th Medical Group. Please remain standing while Secretary of State-elect Sarah L. Copeland-Hansis and Skylar and Becca Hansis are escorted into the chamber by Chief Master Sergeant Adrian Schultz, Wing Commander, Chief, 158th Fighter Wing. Please remain standing while Auditor of Accounts-elect Douglas R. Hoffer and Suzanne Gorman are escorted into the chamber by Captain Jason Anderson, 186th Brigade Support Battalion Personnel Officer. Please remain standing while Attorney General-elect Charity R. Clark and Lauren Jandy and Rob McDougall are escorted into the chamber by Lieutenant Colonel Jason Boyd, Executive Officer, 124th Regional Training Institute. Please remain standing while Marion Dubois, Diane McDeague Scott, Erica and Rachel Scott, and Kevin and Donna Scott are escorted into the chamber by Major General Gregory Knight, the Adjutant General, State of Vermont. The chair recognizes the senator from Chittenden Central District for the purpose of making a motion.
Mr. President, I move that a committee of 6 be appointed by the chair to wait upon His Excellency Philip B. Scott, the governor-elect, and escort him into the chamber for the purpose of receiving his inaugural message.
The senator from Chittenden Central District has moved that a committee of 6 be appointed by the chair to wait upon His Excellency Philip B. Scott, the governor-elect, and escort him into the chamber for the purpose of receiving his inaugural message. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. The ayes have it, and the motion is carried. The chair appoints as members of this committee Representative Long, the member from Newfane, Representative McCoy, the member from Poultney, Representative Mulvaney-Stanek, the member from Burlington, the senator from Chittenden Central, Senator Baruth, the senator from Grand Isle, Senator Mazza, the senator from Franklin, Senator Brock. Will the committee please assemble and perform the duties assigned to it? And the joint assembly may be at ease.
Mr. President.
Madam Sergeant at Arms.
Mr. President, the Governor of the State of Vermont, the Honorable Philip B.
while the State Police Honor Guard post the colors. Please remain standing while Francois Clemens, Officer Clemens, on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and winning author and musical artist from Middlebury, Vermont, sings our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free, and the home of the brave.
The Middlebury Union High School Camerata Singers will now sing America the Beautiful.
Oh, beautiful for space.
The invocation will be given by Reverend Father Julian, pastor at the St. Augustine Catholic Church of Montpelier, Vermont.
I ask you, everyone, to be in the presence of our Almighty God. As a people of the state of Vermont and as a people of faith, gathered in this historical moment, let us bow down our heads and unite in prayer to the Almighty God. Loving God and Father, we are come to you today to acknowledge your presence in this gathering and in your presence in each other. We thank you for your gifts, gift of life, wisdom, and service. We are sorry for the many failures that we have done in the past. We know that even in these difficult times of COVID pandemic, war in Ukraine, natural disasters, and even our failures, this does not change your desire to continue to love us and give us the fullness of life that we all deserve. We pray to you today to bless our nation and to bless our state in Vermont, and bless our leaders. Bless our governor, Phil Scott, and his family. Bless his colleagues, his administration, his friends, so that they too can be blessings to the rest of us. But more so, especially, bless them and bless so that they can be blessings to the families who are suffering, to the poor, to the young children, to the elderly, and to the homeless. May their service to the state of Vermont be an instrument of freedom and unity and peace and progress and healing. And make them an instrument of light for all the nation to see and for the rest of us. May you continue to hold us together close to your heart, and that we will continue to glorify your name forever and ever. Amen.
The Chief Justice of the Vermont Supreme Court, the Honorable Paul L. Reiber, and the Governor's mother, Marion, will now come to the podium. The Chief Justice will now administer the oath of office to the Governor-elect.
Governor, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Philip B. Scott, do solemnly swear
I, Philip B. Scott, do solemnly swear
that I will be true and faithful to the state of Vermont,
that I will be true and faithful to the state of Vermont,
and that I will not directly or indirectly
that I will not directly or indirectly
do any act or thing injurious to the Constitution
do any act or thing injurious to the Constitution
or government
or
thereof,
government thereof.
so help me
So
God.
help me God.
I, Philip B. Scott, do solemnly swear
I, Philip B. Scott, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of Governor for the state of Vermont,
the office of Governor for the state of Vermont,
and will therein do equal right and justice to all persons,
and therein will do equal right and justice to all persons,
to the best of my judgment and ability according to law.
to the best of my judgment and ability according to law.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I, Philip B. Scott, do solemnly swear
I, Philip B. Scott, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
I will support the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations,
Thank you
Governor.
very much.
The oath of office to the constitutional officers will now be administered by Governor Philip B. Scott. First, the oath will be administered to Michael P.S. Pichek.
Good, there we go.
Done the right thing. We're all trained.
Well trained, you said.
I, Michael S. Pichek, do solemnly swear
I, Michael S. Pichak, do solemnly swear
that I will be true and faithful to the state of Vermont,
I will be true and faithful to the state of Vermont,
and that I will not, directly or indirectly,
and that I will not directly or indirectly
do any act or thing injurious to the Constitution
do any act or thing injurious to the Constitution
or government thereof.
or government thereof.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I, Michael S. Pichek, do solemnly swear
I, Michael S. Pichak, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of State Treasurer for the state of Vermont,
the office of State Treasurer for the state of Vermont,
and will therein do equal right and justice to all persons,
and will therein do equal right and justice to all persons,
to the best of my judgment and ability according to law.
to the best of my judgment and ability according to law.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I, Michael S. Pichek, do solemnly swear
I, Michael S. Pichak, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
The oath will now be administered to Sarah L. Copeland Hanses.
Another well-trained. I, Sarah Copeland Hanses, do solemnly swear
I, Sarah Copeland Hansis, do solemnly swear
that I will be true and faithful to the state of Vermont,
that I will be true and faithful to the state of Vermont,
and that I will not, directly or indirectly,
and that I will not, directly or indirectly,
do any act or thing injurious to the Constitution
do any act or thing injurious to the Constitution
or government thereof.
or government thereof.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I, Sarah Copeland Hanses, do solemnly swear
I, Sarah Copeland Hansis, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of Secretary of State for the state of Vermont
the office of Secretary of State of the State of Vermont,
and will therein do equal right and justice to all persons
and will therein do equal right and justice to all persons,
to the best of my judgment and ability according to law.
to the best of my judgment and ability according to law.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I, Sarah Copeland Hansis, do solemnly swear
I, Sarah Copeland Hansis, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
The oath will next be administered to Douglas R. Hoffer.
I, Douglas R. Hoffer, do declare and affirm
I, Douglas R. Hoffer, do declare and affirm
that I will be true and faithful to the state of Vermont,
that I will be true and faithful to the state of Vermont,
and that I will not directly or indirectly
and that I will not directly or indirectly
do any act or thing injurious to the Constitution
do any act or thing injurious to the
or
Constitution
government thereof,
or government thereof,
under the pains and penalties of perjury.
under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I, Douglas R. Hoffer, do declare and affirm
I, Douglas R. Hoffer, do declare and affirm
that I will faithfully execute the office of Auditor of Accounts
that I will faithfully execute the office of the Auditor of Accounts
for the state of Vermont,
for the state of Vermont,
and will therein do equal right and justice to all persons,
and will therein do equal right and justice to all persons,
to the best of my judgment and ability according to law,
to the best of my judgment and ability according to law,
under the pains and penalties of perjury.
under the pains and penalties of perjury.
I, Douglas R. Hoffer, do declare and affirm
I, Douglas R. Hoffer, do declare and affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
under the pains and penalties of perjury.
under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
The oath will be administered to Charity R. Clark.
I, Charity R. Clark, do solemnly swear
I, Charity R. Clark, do solemnly swear
that I will be true and faithful to the state of Vermont,
that I will be true and faithful to the state of Vermont,
and that I will not directly or indirectly
and I will not, directly or indirectly,
do any act or thing injurious to the Constitution
do any act or thing injurious to the
or
Constitution
government
or
thereof.
government thereof.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I, Charity R. Clark, do solemnly swear
I, Charity R. Clark, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the office of Attorney General for the state of Vermont,
the office of Attorney General for the state of Vermont,
and will therein do equal right and justice to all persons,
and will therein do equal right and justice to all persons,
to the best of my judgment and ability according to law.
to the best of my judgment and ability according to law.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I, Charity R. Clark, do solemnly swear
I, Charity R. Clark, do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
A second invocation will now be given by Rabbi David Edelson, Doctor of Divinity at Temple Sinai in South Burlington, Vermont.
Breath of all life, great liberator of the oppressed, sacred spirit of debate and resolution, divine guide through the wilderness of the human condition. We pray to you today and in days to come to guide Governor Scott and his administration as they lead our beloved Vermont bravely forward. Give them patience when faced with stubborn, if principled, impasse. Give him humility in the face of the power of his position and in the face of the suffering of Vermont's most vulnerable. Give him skepticism when others come at him puffed up with certainty. Give him humor when faced with the inevitable absurdities that politics engender. And give them wisdom when faced with the real needs of the people of the state, the need for good government, for reasoned leadership, and above all, an administration who puts the well-being of the people of Vermont above all. The sages of the Jewish tradition saw debate as deeply sacred, and they knew something about debating. But they also knew the dangers of zealousness and partisanship. And so they tell this story. Two great rabbis and leaders in the Great Assembly, Rabbi Hillel and Rabbi Shammai, that's S-H-A-M-M-A-I. I've been a sign language interpreter, I know how that goes, argued for 3 years about a particular point of law and legislation. One side, we are told, would say, the law is on my side. But the other would rise and say, no, the law is on my side. After 3 years of such argument, exasperated, God's voice from heaven blared forth and said, enough. Both of you are right. What both of you are saying are words of the living God. But since we must live with an answer, the law is according to this one, Hillel. The rabbis ask if both were valid opinions, why did the law always follow Hillel? And the answer is part of my prayer today. Because the party of Hillel was kind and gracious about the opinions of the other side. And they taught their students both opinions, even teaching the other side's opinions first, out of respect for the sacredness of debate. God, teach us to see debate as a great sacred task to be taken seriously and given great care and openness. Help us to value our democracy, appreciate its fragility, and to tend it with care and cooperation and calm. Teach us and teach our leaders and our governor to be kind and gracious to those who hold reasonable ideas with which they may strongly disagree, and to show respect to those who hold such ideas. And may those who disagree with our governor and his administration also be kind and gracious and show respect to those who hold reasonable ideas different than their own. And as you help Governor Scott and his administration, help each of us to find the courage of humility and openness to listen to ideas that challenge us. In our prayers, observant Jews say many times every day, Shema Yisrael, hear, O Israel. We say this to declare our belief in the unity of the sacred, but also to remind ourselves that just to listen, just to pay attention, can be truly difficult. And it can be most difficult in hearing the things we most need to hear. May the one who commands us to listen guide this administration and guide us to hear one another, to listen to one another's experiences and points of view, and then to work together to build a road through the wilderness toward the promised land of freedom and unity. Amen.
The Middlebury Union High School Camerata Singers will join us again and will now sing These Green Mountains. It is now my distinct honor to present to you the Governor of the State of Vermont, the Honorable Philip B. Scott. Thank you all. Thank you.
You may want to sit down for this. But it could have been longer, I will say. We had the governor's luncheon before this, and we had Governor Shumlin, had Governor Dean, Governor Douglas, and they all thought that they should give 10 minutes each. And then I could do cleanup. But then we quickly came to our senses and figured out that the cleanup, after following those three, would probably take longer than the original speech. So we're going to go with the original speech. Madam Speaker, Mr. President, Mr. Chief Justice, members of the General Assembly, honored guests, and fellow Vermonters. I'm truly thankful for the opportunity to continue to serve as governor. And after a few long years, it's good to be back in the People's House, where Vermonters have come together from across the state in our darkest times and finest hours to solve problems for their communities and help their neighbors. So today, I'm especially grateful we're here in this building together. In 1974, after 34 years in office, Senator George Aiken decided to retire from the United States Senate. He had earned a reputation as a staunch defender of our state and added Vermont's voice to the national conversation. So his shoes seemed difficult to fill. But that fall, we put the responsibility on the shoulders of a 34-year-old state's attorney. And the rest, as they say, is history. In the time since, Patrick Leahy has worked with 9 presidents. And as pro tem of the Senate, he was third in line to the presidency. He introduced 1,768 bills and cast 17,374 votes, the second most in Senate history. Not bad for a kid from Washington County. He carved out a legacy that will benefit generations of Vermonters to come. And that's because he always served with an eye on what's best for the state he represented. Senator Leahy couldn't be here today, but I know he and Marcel are listening, so please join me in showing them our thanks and gratitude for so many years of service and a job well done. This session, we should take a page out of Senator Leahy's playbook by always working with an eye on what's best for the communities we represent. Just look at how he used the small state minimum to prevent states with larger populations and larger congressional delegations from taking the lion's share of federal funds. About half of you represent towns of less than 1,000. So you're up against the same challenge when compared to our bigger cities. What better way to honor Senator Leahy's legacy than to deliver for your small communities the way he's delivered for our small state? In November, my team and I set out before dawn to visit all 14 counties in a single day. I've done this 6 times before. It's a reminder of why I love our state and why I do this work. Seeing every county in a day, well over 500 miles, puts things in perspective. At every stop and the drive in between, you see Vermont. Independence and community, struggle and resilience, progress and opportunity. It also becomes very clear that the distance between Burlington and Rutland, Manchester and Reedsboro, Middlebury and Craftsbury, St. Albans and Richford can be measured in more than just miles. Consider the data, whether it's housing burden, income, property value, poverty levels, labor force, or access to broadband. It's clear some places are consistently doing better than others. And when you're driving 500 miles in one day, you see this data reflects real communities. In an instant, the view goes from vibrant downtowns, healthy neighborhoods, and bustling offices to tarped roofs, abandoned homes, and shuttered businesses. My friends, it's up to us to close this gap. Now, it's not about turning Canaan into Burlington. No offense to Burlington, and I'm not sure anyone in Canaan wants that. What towns like Canaan or Dover or Montgomery need from us are more tools and the flexibility to be more vibrant and dynamic. The work done in this building is felt differently across counties and communities, because they all have different assets and attributes, and sometimes not enough of either. That's why one size rarely fits all. This session, if we pay more attention to the needs of each community, we can close the gap between regions to give all our towns and villages a brighter future. Just imagine what it could look like. A future where workers and families from Newport to Newfane have equal access to education, childcare, after-school programs, quality health care, good jobs, and decent affordable housing. Where vibrant communities include mom-and-pop stores, restaurants and taverns and broadband, which some of us in New England might call wicked fast. Where our largest cities and our smallest towns have safe, welcoming neighborhoods, healthy downtowns, and reliable and resilient infrastructure. A reality where the cost of living and tax burden don't grow faster than paychecks, so families keep more of what they earn, move up, and enjoy the quality of life they've worked so hard for. A better, brighter future in every county, every community, and every home. And I believe it's within our reach. This isn't just high-flying rhetoric, and here's why. Before the pandemic, we shored up our foundation by passing responsible budgets and focus on long-standing challenges like workforce and housing. This work and the course we've set has put us in an incredible position to make the most of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity offered by historic federal aid and record state surpluses. With pandemic recovery funds, we're investing in fundamentals like broadband, water, sewer, and stormwater systems, climate change resiliency, housing, and economic revitalization. In St. Johnsbury, this means cleaning up brownfields and fixing up vacant rental units for more housing, and water projects to improve health and support economic growth. Around Brattleboro, this means adding space for small businesses, expanding healthcare services, and converting college dorms into homes for refugee families. We have hundreds of projects underway in all 14 counties, and they're making a difference. But it's important we follow through to achieve the brighter future I just described. Look at the opportunity we have along the almost completed Lamoille Valley Rail Trail. What was just an idea for an unused rail bed has become a substantial and still untapped recreational asset. Extending over 93 miles, the longest in New England, it could bring new energy to 18 communities in 5 counties. From Swanton to St. Jay, every town along the route has an opportunity to welcome trail users to their country store, brewery, restaurant, lodging, and that new small business that today is just a dream. But here's the thing. The rec path itself is not the answer. It's just an entryway, an opening to explore the towns, villages, and businesses along the way. And cutting the ribbon on the last section of construction doesn't come close to finishing the work. It's our job to make sure they have all the tools they need to draw those visitors in, keep them coming back, and convince some of them to stay. Take Wolcott, for example. A few years ago, my team was in Lamoille County for Capital for a Day. We met at the town office and heard some locals wanted to open a coffee shop as part of their vision to take full advantage of the rail trail, if it ever got done. Now, most of us might take the opening of a coffee shop for granted. How hard could it be? But we learned it's tough to pull it in Wolcott. And that's because our well-meaning wastewater regulations make it complicated. And municipal systems, like they have in larger communities, are too expensive. Now, I'm not saying we should roll back regulations, but we should use the opportunity we have right now to help towns like Wolcott build infrastructure they can never afford on their own and solve problems that have stifled their economic progress for far too long. The basics, like water, sewer, and stormwater, housing, and high-speed internet, those are the sparks that ignite revitalization. But we need to follow through, to give more communities what they need so those sparks don't burn out. That's why my budget adjustment, which we'll introduce tomorrow, includes a bit of funding to help level the playing field for underserved regions. So rather than wait until the end of the session, we can build on our efforts to strengthen Vermont right now. This work is important because stronger, more economically secure communities lead to healthier, safer families. As we know, we've spent hundreds of millions of dollars to stabilize healthcare through the pandemic. And the challenges we had before still exist. From workforce shortages to increased demand due to an aging population, and now we're dealing with inflation. All of this has led to higher costs, which is the reality we have to face. Another is, 12 years after Tropical Storm Irene, we still haven't quite finished rebuilding our mental health system. This has led to fewer options for patients. And too often, they end up in emergency departments, which are not equipped to care for them, despite the nurses and doctors doing the very best they can to help. It's a reminder of what happens when we lose focus on the fundamentals and don't finish what we start. We have important work to do across the entire system to better integrate mental and physical health. But I know if we make these goals a priority and work together in good faith, we can deliver better access and higher quality at a cost Vermonters can afford. And to restore progress that was halted by the pandemic, we need a shared community-based approach. We have the knowledge and have laid the foundation to do it. Vermont set the standard for treating the opioid epidemic as a public health crisis, thanks in part to Senator Shumlin. And now we're building on it. with lessons learned from our nation-leading pandemic response to address overdoses, suicides, homelessness, crime rates, and more. This approach means agencies and departments are working as one team, shoulder to shoulder with local leaders, federal partners, and community organizations, and using real-time data to focus on the people in neighborhoods that need our attention most. We're prioritizing prevention, giving kids a healthier start through home visiting, and partnering with pediatricians so we can identify risk earlier and prevent problems down the road. And we're doing more with our mobile mental health response when those problems do arise. Together, we made the state's largest investment in substance abuse prevention, which is being deployed as we speak. It's helping community partners give students meaningful things to do, like after-school programs, clubs, sports, and jobs, where they build healthy relationships, explore opportunities, and feel valued. They're also critical to our treatment and recovery efforts, connecting people to services, sharing life-saving resources, and supporting families who desperately need our help. These are proven initiatives, which is why I'll propose we build on them and do more to prevent the destruction these deadly drugs are causing in too many towns, too many cities, and in too many of our homes across the state. And while we focus on root causes, law enforcement and accountability must also be part of this discussion. And I believe it has to include a sincere look at well-intentioned reforms that are having unintended consequences. Whether that's expunging records that could lead to a violent offender getting a gun, policy that's made youth the target of drug traffickers, or divisive rhetoric that makes it difficult to retain and recruit good public servants. With a more unified approach to health and safety on the ground, we can divert more people off the path to drugs and crime and solidify our position as the safest, healthiest state to live and raise a family. Addressing climate change is part of this work as well. This is an area where we share goals, but may disagree on how to get there. Still, we've proven we can work together, devoting nearly $250 million over the last 2 years. This is funding good work to reduce emissions, revitalize old homes, lower energy bills, improve health, and protect communities from flooding. Our weatherization investments are improving thousands of homes for those who couldn't afford to do it on their own. And it's helped low-income families each save, on average, over 200 gallons of fuel or propane every year. But we know people are still hurting. And when you consider kerosene, which many families have to use to heat their homes because they have outside above-ground tanks, is over $6 a gallon, these savings do add up. We're also helping homeowners and municipalities convert to energy-saving technologies, efficient renewable systems, and storage capacity to meet the growing demand. When it comes to transportation emissions, we started laying the groundwork long before COVID, investing Volkswagen settlement funds to expand charging infrastructure and making EV purchases more affordable. We're electrifying our state fleet, converting to electric buses for public transportation, and testing electric loaders, excavators, and law enforcement vehicles. We currently have the most public EV charging ports per capita, and we have 5 times as many EVs on the road than when I came to office. Some of you were here 3 years ago when I stood at this very podium and talked about how excited I was to see Ford announcing the new EV Mustang and working on an all-electric F-150 truck. I saw it as a game changer, a way to introduce EVs to more people, including those who need heavy-duty vehicles for work and everyday life. Now, just over 1,000 days later, I'm riding in one of those F-150 Lightnings every single day. As you might imagine, I'd rather be driving myself. And I'm sure there's a few of you out there who are looking forward to the day when I can. But it's been valuable for me to experience this for myself. And has opened my eyes to issues we need to address to help transition to this new world. For example, when traveling around the state, I get to see different levels of chargers, with some faster than others, as well as how many we have and where they all are. On one trip, we planned to power up in Brattleboro, but the only charger fast enough to keep us on schedule had a line of cars waiting, which would have made me late for a few meetings. As governor, I have state police security, so I got another ride and I was on my way. But others don't have that luxury. Now, to be clear, I still believe EVs are the right way to go. But we have to recognize that many are hesitant because it needs to be easier, more convenient, and more affordable to make the switch. We've made great strides, but we need to make sure we're investing in the fastest chargers available. And with all the new EVs and electric heating and cooling systems coming online, we have some serious work to do to make sure our electric grid can accommodate it. So let's continue to build the foundation that will make it possible and practical for Vermonters to make this transition so we can meet our climate goals. And we need to do the same when it comes to housing. We've invested almost $500 million in this area over the last 2 years, and we are seeing some progress. But we won't be able to make the most of this opportunity if we don't address the decades-old regulations that are holding us back. These were put in place at a time when Vermont was growing at a record pace, and the spike in development raised legitimate concerns about preserving farmland and our small-town character. But now, these regulations are making it more difficult to renovate and modernize housing stock we desperately need. Worse yet, some restrict the ability to build homes that fit the needs of more diverse or lower-income families. And they're threatening the vitality of the very places they were intended to protect. They empower very small groups of residents to stand in the way of projects, not because of a legitimate environmental threat, but because they simply don't want it in their backyard. For example, a project to build over 100 units in Middlebury has local support and fits the town plan. Because of the size of the town, it's not exempt from Act 250, and a single opponent could derail it. This is a much-needed, well-planned project in Addison County's Economic Center, and the type of targeted development we should all support. Then there's the homeless shelter in Hartford that's being held up with the help of local zoning laws. And in Castleton, a proposed senior living project has been denied approval under its current plan because local zoning requires a kitchen in every unit. But the plan includes memory care units without kitchens. This project would let older Vermonters stay in the community they love and free up their larger homes for young families. It would also create desperately needed skilled nursing beds and give practical training for the nursing students right next door. It's literally a win-win-win. But now, because it won't work without the memory care units, its future is in question. Here's the bottom line. The failure to update a system that was meant to curtail development is contributing to the housing crisis we face today. I know a number of you are working to change this. And for any legislators who ran on this issue as a priority, I hope you join us at the table. Because in order to make the most of the hundreds of millions of dollars we've invested and build homes as quickly and affordably as we can, we need smart regulations that reflect the realities of today, and we need them this session. Pairing decent, affordable housing with the best education system in the country is a critical way for us to revitalize every region. With these tools, we can attract more who want to live, work, and raise families in the safest state in the country, with the very best opportunities for their kids, from cradle to career. Now, I know how that sounds. It's a big goal. But part of what makes me so confident is that we could do it with the $2 billion we spend today to educate about 80,000 kids. And this year, I'll once again propose continued expansion in childcare and pre-K programs. As we recover from the pandemic, let's do more to reverse learning loss, support quality standards, and strengthen the social and emotional health of students and staff. We'll build on our work with Senator Sanders by devoting federal funds to after-school and summer programs with a focus on trades training. And we'll help schools expand computer science, like cybersecurity and coding, and support scholarships in areas with critical workforce shortages. From preschool to after-school, tech ed and trades training, to adult education. We must continue our work to build a more flexible system, one that gives every child, regardless of where they live, more choices and better outcomes. As we think about all our priorities, we must address the impacts of inflation. There's no denying people are facing tremendous cost pressures. Just over the last year, energy costs are up 13%, car repairs by almost 12%, and basic food costs are up across the board, with chicken, milk, cheese, and potatoes all increasing 13% or more. Just a dozen eggs or a box of cereal can easily cost over $5. So I want to be clear. This isn't the time to increase the burden on anyone. And we certainly can't ask lower and middle-income families to cover the cost for their wealthier neighbors. We must find ways to achieve our goals without adding taxes and fees, because this only increases the cost of living. That's one reason my administration followed through to create a voluntary paid family and medical leave program. Now, I know some of you don't think this goes far enough and feel Vermonters can afford another tax. But by doing this without a payroll tax on workers, we're not forcing those who don't need it and can't afford it to pay for someone who can. And importantly, we're getting it done. Next year, employers will be able to give this benefit to their workers with flexibility to cover the costs and customize a plan. We'll be able to see for ourselves how well it works, how much it costs, and who needs our help to level the playing field. We'll learn from it, improve it, and get us all where we want to go, faster, with less political conflict, and without putting it on overburdened workers. It's good, smart, and thoughtful governing. And it's the type of balanced approach we need to consider across the board. That includes our effort to increase the number of workers and reverse our demographics. Long before the pandemic, this was our biggest challenge. But the last 2 years put the number of people leaving the workforce on steroids. In 2019, we were moving in the right direction, but still had about 3,300 fewer workers than we did in 2009. Unfortunately, our most recent data shows a gap of 22,500. That's right. The gap is nearly 7 times what it was in 2019. Now, there's no one solution. That's why we must look at every proposal and understand if and how it will increase the number of people working in Vermont or help bring new Vermonters here. It's about staying focused and having the commitment to chip away at this problem. This is what we've been doing with investments in tech centers, expanding internships and apprenticeships, and building adult training programs to help people learn new skills for better paying jobs. The budget I'll present in 2 weeks will continue to invest in our workforce. But we can't just train our way out of this. It's not as simple as getting the unemployed back to work, because there are currently about 3 job openings for every 1 unemployed Vermonter. Everything I've talked about today, from making Vermont more affordable, building more housing, creating the best education system in the country, and ensuring safe, clean, healthy communities, all these things are necessary to keep and attract more people. And more people means more workers, more homeowners, more students in our schools, more volunteers in our communities, more customers for small businesses, and importantly, more taxpayers, so we don't need to raise taxes. So let's continue to make this a priority this session, because it's the key to being able to invest in all the things we need and want, and giving every region of the state more opportunity to grow and prosper. I'd like to wrap up by going back to the 14-county tour. We stopped in Island Pond. There was a guy putting up Christmas lights at the American Legion. He stopped what he was doing and came over to talk. As he came closer, it became clear to me he wasn't happy. In fact, I'd say he was pretty angry, and he had a lot to say. He went on to tell me that we, all of us, we, are crushing him. That Montpelier could care less about what they did to folks like him in places like Island Pond. Now, I tried not to argue with him. He's a Vermonter. I'm the governor. This is America. He has every right to give me a piece of his mind, and it's my job to listen. But what struck me and stuck with me is that the problems he described and the pain they cause are the same things I see. And in a lot of ways, he was right. Despite our best intentions, his community has fallen behind. The distance between regions, the gap in opportunity, has been growing for decades. Springfield is a great example. Only 40 or so years ago, it was a worldwide leader in manufacturing with thousands of great jobs and the highest per capita income in the state. It's a similar story for Barrie, Bellows Falls, Bennington, St. Johnsbury, Rutland, and Newport. There are many places that, not that long ago, were economic engines for their region. But as the economy has changed and evolved, we haven't done enough to help them adapt. This work takes more than a bumper sticker and good intentions, because governing is never as simple as a slogan or the headline tries to make it. The good news is we can help turn these places around. But we have to remember, the decisions we make in this building have real-life consequences on people who don't show up at fundraisers, don't have the time to call, write, tweet, or testify in the State House because they're too busy working, trying to make ends meet and raise their family. But they still expect us to look out for them. And when we don't, they lose faith and trust in government. What we learned through Irene and COVID is that when we put politics aside, when we focus on the people who need our help most, when we work together to solve problems, we can get the results that make a real difference. And I'm telling you, the challenges that people face in all these struggling communities are just as urgent as any pandemic or any flood to them. If you don't think so, talk to the members of the Rural Caucus. Or let's go see my friend up at the American Legion in Island Pond, or the Village School in Irishburg, or other places like Athens, Corinth, Danby, Isle of Mont, Roxbury, Sheffield, Westmore, or Woodford, and many, many more like them who need us to hear what they're saying and work together to make real change. My fellow Vermonters, these are big challenges, but we find ourselves at a rare moment in history with one-time money that those before us could only dream of to tackle issues we faced for decades. This is truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and the only thing that could stand in its way is us. So let's not squander it. This year, we can shorten the distance between reality and opportunity. Give every community the chance to catch up, to act on a vision for their future and help them see it through, to attract new people and new jobs, put more kids in their schools, restore their downtowns, reclaim their character, and renew their identity. In this moment, we have a chance to transform what is into what can be. the only way we can do it is if we work together. So I thank you very much for that, and I look forward to working with you.
The benediction will be given by Reverend Dr. Robert A. Potter, pastor of the Potter Chapel in Wheelock, Vermont. And for those of you who've been here before, it's a good one.
You may all be seated. God hears our prayers, I believe, no matter what our position is. And you don't have to go to the governor's website to know why he is one of the most popular governors in America. Thank you, Governor, for that address. I am overjoyed to be here as Speaker of the House for a few minutes and not have you have to cast 6 or 7 ballots to allow me to get here. It is my 5th benediction reflection, consecutive. Now, I have always loved, respected, and honored my friend Phil Scott. I've been scared to death about his tearing around Thunder Road in 14 and all that, but I've prayed for him since he was president of the Senate, lieutenant governor, and a much younger man. Because I'm 25 years older than he is, I can say that. But there's just got to be something wrong with him. I hope there are no Democrats here making a list. But who would be out of their mind enough to want a 4th term as governor? I wrote that before I heard his address. But there is, in spite of what's going on in Washington today, there is no tension here on this auspicious occasion. But we can profoundly and humorously ask, what is it like when past, present, and future walked into the bar? It was tense. A little slow, but thank you. Nonetheless, the past here for us is precious in the present and a reminder of the great legacy of love which hallows these historic halls. I think of talking to David after the second inauguration of Governor Scott, and he spoke tenderly of his mother's death, which had happened only weeks before. I think of my forever friend and Representative Dick Lawrence. Dick delivered many years ago a log splitter from his Agway store to my farm. And I said to him, "Dick, how do I work that thing?" And he said, "You're no Abe Lincoln, but you'll figure it out very quickly." And as I left these chambers over all these years, he would reach out from his desk and touch my hand and hold my heart. Our soul and spirit should long sing a song of love and gratitude for those who have gone before us in this place. I think of the day that Governor Douglas and I conducted the memorial service here for Governor Schnelling, Lieutenant Governor Schnelling. And in this sacred place today, let us remind ourselves that we are not saints, but servants. Servants of a people who trust us. Never to be tempted to forget our history. That together, as Vermonters, we hurt, we hope, we heal, and we make it happen. That is the sustaining vision in Vermont valleys and in the higher meaning of its mountaintops from Monadnock in the north to Snow in the sort of south. I think of Vermonter Michaela Schiffler of Burke Mountain Academy. Her daddy, who was her coach, died suddenly to this life. And so heartsick was Michaela. She could not ski well for a long time. Last week in Austria, she won her 50th race, and the Grand Slalom made world skiing history, the only one to win a race that many times in a single discipline. Hometown girl, healing girl, Vermont girl. We do not give up. We do not give in, no matter the challenge. So be it so for us. On Governor Scott's first day in office 6 years ago, he stood with his family after the inauguration service with no lights and no cameras on, and we went out to the flag flying at half-mast to honor his dad, who died to this life when Phil was 11 years old. The memory of those moments is very dear to me because, as some of you know, my mother died when I was 11 years old. And after 88 years on this earth, I think sometimes we have to know the pain to know the possibilities. One of her favorite hymns was Rock of Ages. And we sing it when occasionally I go to lead worship in the Graniteville Church. A boy from Barrie, we celebrate today, as well as you and I affirm this day the rock-solid granite goodness of Vermont values. Seen yet again, far away in the Ukrainian widow's tears, and in all of humanity's cry for freedom, for faith, for a future of goodness and love. Dearly beloved Phil, Governor, may the ultimate one continue to bless you and keep you and your family well. Remember, we love you. We love you. We love you. Amen.
Will the joint assembly please rise and remain standing? Will the committee please reassemble and escort the governor from the chamber?